So I got a Corvette. And from the previous video, guys, you know that I'm working on the upper control arms. The upper control arms, I'm removing them right now. And, basically I'm going to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm doing here. A big bolt here and, 18 millimeter nut on each one of these bolts. There's when I get it apart, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But the bolt here, basically it's an 18 millimeter, but there's a bolt on the other side. Doesn't have a bolt head. It's got two sides where you can grab it with a wrench if you need to. I don't know if I'm going to need to, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. There's a cotter pin in this ball joint nut. Basically, you're going to pull that off, and then there's a castle nut. You undo the nut, and then pickle fork, pop that off. In the past, on a heavier duty vehicle, I would just take a ball peen hammer and whack the carrier or the spindle and break that loose. In this situation, I'm going to use a pickle fork, just kind of try popping that off, and I'm probably going to be replacing the boot anyway, just because it does not keep grease in it anymore. But the ball joint itself doesn't really seem to have much play. From this setup, obviously you're not going to be able to tell until you get it apart and just kind of give it a good look over. My theory is the car's been taken care of pretty well, so we may not have to replace the ball joint. But let me get started on this, and then I'll kind of show you guys what I'm doing. I would like to loosen these big nuts up before I take this off, just for the simple fact that I'd rather do that in the car while I have the benefit of the stationary hold of the car, rather than having to put it in a vise and then risk banging up some knuckles. I'd rather put a breaker bar on it and just get it right here while I've got leverage in the weight of the car. Anyway, guys, let's skip ahead and see what we got going on here in just a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break this nut loose and this one here while it's in the car, rather than relying on a vise. I just will have a little bit more leverage here, and just do a little bit easier. I'm not going to take it completely off, but if you do it this way, it'll be far easier for you to do everything you need to do. Be careful what you're crashing into. Alright, this one here, got this wire in the way. I'm going to take this guy right here, move this out of the way a little bit, and put it in there like that. Put that bolt right there and that clip. Nice and easy. The reason why I'm doing this is that way, like I said, just in case when I get this off, I've got to do some work to this. I got to change the bushings anyway, so I have this going here. You don't have to worry about that. Alright, that's loose. That washer there is loose. That washer there is loose. Alright, what I used there was a 30 millimeter on this. It felt a little big. I don't have a 29 millimeter, so it just is what it is. A 30 millimeter did work. Obviously, if it was 16 point, I would have had a little bit more problem. Alright, so the next operation here is going to be taking and loosening these nuts up. So, alright, so I've already started to loosen this nut right here. I was wondering if maybe it was gonna retain itself because it doesn't have a true bolt. It's got like think of an anchor bolt. That's kind of what it looks like. I'm holding it in from the back side with finger pressure here. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. Don't forget you got the shims. The shims are going to be a problem if you aren't paying attention. All right, this here. Like I said, 18 millimeter. Don't go too crazy because you got the car up in the air. And obviously don't do what I just did there and drag the wrench across the part you're trying to keep here. Alright. Now that's loose. And all of this is loose. I'm going to take these shims off and drop them all into the engine bay. Obviously that wasn't intended. I'll get that in just a second. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull these shims out. And I'm going to put these shims, I guess, right there for right now. When I get the control arm out, I'll put the shims here and here. Another way you can do it is if you've got different color markers, you can mark them different colors. But anyway, I'll have to remember that I dropped a shim down in there. So anyway, that being said, now all I got to do is get this pin out, this castle nut, loosen that castle nut, pop this ball joint out, and then this whole thing should come out. All right, we've got the pin out. Basically, this is one of those kind of pins where you bend one side or both sides over once you get it in the hole. Castle nut keeps castle nut in place. And that's what I'm loosening right now. This is 18 millimeter castle nut on the bottom side of this ball joint. Now I'm just going to throw that into the engine bay as well. Keeps it in one place. No, I was just joking. So anyway, what I'm going to have to do now is pickle fork, and where that pickle fork is, right here. Idea here is to jam the pickle fork in, and it'll pop the ball joint out. I obviously don't want to damage anything, so I'm going to clean everything up and make sure that that pickle fork is big enough for that. If not, I'll get my other pickle fork and pop that off. We're gonna do these next, and that's just gonna, then we'll be able to pop the whole control arm off. So yeah, so that's where we're at. All right, got that popped out. Now what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna take and remove these bolts the rest of the way, these nuts. I don't understand why I'm not using a socket wrench. We're gonna fix that. I'm gonna fix that right now. I'm kind of holding this up, so I'm trying not to drag across that. Trying not to drag across the arm there. I am going to shine that up a little bit. These are tapered washers. When I get this off, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I've got the nut, the washer. See the tapered end on that? There's a little tapered end right there. I gotta get this off. Same thing here. I'm gonna keep these separate. Put these over here with the bushings, or with the them things there. Now with everything being held up like this, I wanna kind of make sure that the brake and everything is, I want to make sure that the brake doesn't just fall. So what I'm going to do is, here in just a second, I'm going to grab something, kind of tie this all up. But wiggle these bolts back and out of the way. Pull that up and out of the way. Just kind of looking at it, see how it is. Now, this is a good time to check and make sure that this thing's not cracked. But anyway, as you can see, the bushings should be pretty easy to get out. If we don't have drama with it, it should pop right out. Something very interesting here. That ball joint feels pretty good. There's no wiggle or nothing on it. So I think the ball joint's going to stay. I'm going to get a new boot for it. So that's going to be fun. A video I may do in the future, because I saw a guy that didn't really know how to do anything with rivets, and I work with rivets. He didn't know how to set rivets or drill out rivets. So that might be a video in the near future, replacing the ball joint. I'll just get a new upper control arm and show you guys. But anyway, that's what we got going on here. At this point in time, this is it for the process here. Now we have these, and I don't want to lose anything, so keep in mind that the way that that's shaped there. Just gonna put everything together, and I'm gonna put this over here. I'm not closing the hood anytime soon, but you may be different, so it may be one of those situations where well, that might not want to come out, so not a big deal. We can just leave that in there. It's not going to be the end of the world. I am going to have to fish that shim out. Where the heck it went, I'm sure it's in the chassis somewhere. But anyway, I'm sure I'll find it here in just a few, as soon as I'm done messing around with this. But anyway, that is how you get the upper control arm off on a C4 Corvette. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave it in the comment section below. If you can get behind here with a hammer, you can take and put the castle nut on upside down, and you can whack at the bottom of that nut and it'll pop that right out. So if you don't have a pickle fork, that's an option for you there. Anyway, guys, the focus of this channel wasn't originally to show you how-to videos, but after seeing some of the stuff that is available on the interwebs about C4s, you may be seeing some how-to videos on this channel, as well as me talking about my Corvette. Anyway, guys, catch you in the next video. Yeah, that's about all I got. I gotta replace the bushings next, and I'll do a separate video for that.